Hi, I'm back for the third part of my series where I'll be covering all the Diamond League athletics events throughout 2019. In this episode, I focus on the Stockholm Diamond League. Now, the event I'm going to start with is the 200 metres for men. Now, this is the second 200 metres race in the Diamond League this season, with the first being held in Qatar, which was won by Guliev. Guliev also featured in this race, as did the Canadian Aaron Brown, as did Alonso Edwards. And actually, I did expect Guliev to win, however he didn't. It was Aaron Brown who won, and it was around a 20.06 time, which is actually quite decent. And we've seen in recent years it can get that type of time can actually get you medals. It did in the last World Championships. It actually got you the gold. That's sub 20.1. However, I think this season with people like Lyles running, the winning time will be of sub 20, but it doesn't mean that a 20.06 can't get you a medal. So good for him. I was a bit surprised about Guliev, as I said, because he's normally very strong in the last 100 metres. He normally holds his form well, normally doesn't fade, but he kind of was outdone this time by Aaron Brown, which was quite strange to see, really. Okay, so the second field event was the 400 metres men. Now, this event had a lot of world-class talent in it. There was the two Americans, there was Michael Norman, who, if you haven't seen him yet, you need to see this guy race. He's absolutely insane. He's ran sub 44 like so many times, and I think he's still at university or college in America, as they call it. There's also Ry Benjamin, who was his university rival, but he also doubles up to the 400 hurdles. We saw him last time in Shanghai doing the 400 hurdles. And then there was also Tebe from Botswana, who has actually run some sub 44 times in the past as well. So it was definitely had some world class talent in there. And I was expecting quite a quick time, actually. Now, in terms of the way the race turned out, it was kind of Ry Benjamin had a very, very quick start. He was kind of off the blocks very quickly. But as you could see, around between 250 and 350, Norman was kind of steadily pulling back, and then his home straight was just so strong. He did not lose form for 1 second. He looked very comfortable, almost like he was jogging at the end, and he actually was able to beat Benjamin by a few meters. The time wasn't incredibly impressive. It was around 44.53. We've seen better from him, but considering how cold it is in Stockholm, in Sweden, it's not a bad time, and just how comfortably was it looked pretty great. So I think there's better things to come from him. Onto the 1500 metres for men. Now this is the second time this event has been done in this Diamond League. And the first one was won by Manungoy. Now this one, Manungoy was actually in this race, but he didn't win, which is kind of surprising. Normally when I see him, he normally wins. But then I suppose there was a huge amount of other great talent in this event as well. There was Chariot, if you don't know him, he kind of leans forward when he runs, it's very unique style. Actually kind of logical when you think about it. I guess if you lean forward, you have less surface area for the wind to hit you, but yeah, I guess it's good for him as well. There was also Suleiman, who's medalled in World Championships and Olympics before. There was the Ingebrigtsen brothers. There was the older Ingebrigtsen, and there was Jacob Ingebrigtsen, who was burst onto the scene last year, still very young. I think he's 18, 19. And Chariot won the race, but it was kind of close in the end. Jacob Ingebrigtsen, we were quite surprised when we saw him. He was near the back. He's normally quite a front runner, but in this race, he was definitely closer to the back. But in the last lap, he was able to overtake pretty much half the field. It was pretty insane, which makes me kind of wonder why wasn't he near the front at the start. He could have won the race, but I guess it just wasn't his day, and it was Chariot's day. It was around a 3:35 time, which is okay, but we've seen faster. Yeah, I think Jacob Ingebrigtsen's one of the best runners in the 1500 at the moment, and I kind of hope he wins the Worlds. I think he's got a lot of talent. And the last track event we saw in this Diamond League for the men was the 400 metre hurdles. Now this had the world champion, last world champion, Warholm, very eccentric character. Kind of looks like when he's running, kind of looks like he's overstriding a lot. But he's just so powerful, so quick, and he just maintains that power the whole race. He has a lot of heart, he has a lot of courage, and he's able to just maintain, despite all the pain he's probably feeling, he's able to maintain it to the finish. And that's what happened in the World Champs, and that's what happened with this race. He started off extremely quickly. I think he was in around lane 6, lane 7, and he was able to just perfectly run the race, his own race, and was able to produce a sub 48 time, which is obviously very good. But then when you look at the last Diamond League, when Samba ran a very low 47 time, I think Warholm's just still a bit off. However, anything can happen in the Worlds. But I would really like Warholm to win again. He's a great character, as I said. So swiftly moving on to the field events for the men. So the pole vault, this is also the second time this event has been done. this year, and it was the same winner. It was Sam Kendricks. I think it was around 5:72 he did. There was another athlete in it, Lisek from Poland, who was kind of one of the top 10 in the world at the moment. But he was only able to get around a 5:60, which isn't that good. But yeah, Sam Kendricks was on top again. And then the last two field events were actually won by Swedish athletes. Mats Montler for the long jump, he jumped 8:22. There was also Jeff Henderson in that field, and Mayunga, the South African, and Gail, but they weren't able to really get much over the 8 meters. And the winning jump was 8:22 by Montler. Very good for him. I don't think I've ever heard of him before, so it's good for him to get the win. But I feel like the other athletes I just mentioned should be getting a lot better at this point. I'm not sure if long jump's really an event that's affected by conditions as much. But yeah, and then as for the discus throw, it was Starley who won. It was around just below 70 meters, which is okay. Actually, no, that's pretty good actually. So yeah, double Swedish, which is great for the crowd considering it was in Stockholm. Okay, so moving on to the women's events. I'll start with probably my favourite women's event of the evening, which was the 200 metres women. As you probably gauged by now, one of my favourite athletes at the moment, Dina Asher-Smith from England. She was in this race, but there was also Daphne Shippers and Elaine Thompson, two of the fastest women ever in this event. It's quite remarkable in 2015 when they both ran 21.6. So it wasn't going to be an easy race for her. There was also, I mentioned Yvette Lulova, who's still around. I think she's mid-30s now, so it's absolutely incredible that she's still doing these sprint races. And she's actually still pretty good at them. She always seems to get to the finals and stuff like that. But yeah, Dina absolutely thrashed them. I'm so happy to say that. Her start was incredible, just as normal. Her start's always incredible. And then down the bend, she pulled away, and then at the home straight, she just kept it. She normally fades. She normally really does fade at the end, but this time she kept her strength, so I'm really proud of her. And she was able to win the race. I mean, it wasn't in quickest time. Well, it wasn't as quick as I'd like it to be. It was 22:18, I think. It's a world lead and all. It's a pretty quick time, but it's not sub 20, which is what I want to see. I guess maybe it's affected by the conditions. I think there was a slight headwind against them as well. But it's still great to see her beating these world class athletes so easily. And then the 800 meters women, of note, Casta Semenya was not in this race, neither was Nian Saba. And when I've seen every other race, there is one athlete who normally comes third behind them, and that's RJ Wilson from America. She's run about 156, I think her PB is, so she's very world class. And she was the one who won this race. There wasn't really any competition in the end. She was able to, I think it was actually over 2 minutes, which isn't great. But I think it's just nice to get a win under your belt when you've not got any win because of Semenya all the time. So yeah, it's good for her. The 5,000 metres women. This actually featured two athletes, McColgan, and who's been around for a while, and Courtney. So it was great to see some more English athletes in these long distance events because you don't really see them that often. I mean, they've been on and off in the last few years, but they never really get any medals. So it's good to see them back in the races again. I believe it was won by a Kenyan. Tip up, and it was a 14-minute time. It wasn't. I think it was a world lead, so pretty decent, but not a world record, so it didn't really catch my eye that much. And then the final field event was the 100 meters hurdles for the women. Now this had the world record holder Kendra Harrison in, who pretty much every race you see her in, she's winning now. Ever since she got a world record, she's actually been very dominant. Beforehand, she used to flop a bit in the American trial. She never really made it to the Worlds, to the Olympics. But since she got that world record, she's been on it. I've never seen her lose a race since. And when you see her name in the starting lineup, you're like, oh god, I'm not going to win this race. That's how the other athletes feel, I think. And yep, she won this race pretty comfortably. I mean, Nelvis kind of kept with her. The other American, she kind of kept with her for about half the race. But then near the end, Kendra Harrison just went past her so easily. It's very easy for her in the end. Moving on to the field events for the women. So first the high jump. Now in my first video I did kind of rant about this event a lot. There's it's not got the high standard. I mean, as I said, the heptathletes can come into the high jump and beat high jumpers, which is not good. High jumpers should be beating heptathletes. I did talk about one exception to this rule, and that was Latsiskina, who originally from Russia but obviously now competing independently, and she was the one who won it today, although it was 192, which is it's just appalling. I mean, I guess she is one that normally stops when she's won. She doesn't really like to continue. She just likes to win the event. I think that's the main goal of the event for her. And she'd probably go higher. But from what I saw, I think she was actually struggling a little bit. And I'm telling you, I can't remember the name of the Belgian heptathlete, but she's getting 197. She's beating that 192 easily. I probably the other two of the other heptathletes in the heptathlon will probably get higher than 192 in the heptathlon. So they're going to be getting their medals. So the high jumpers really need to improve. Please improve. And the last event was the discus throw, and this was won by the Cuban Caballero in around 65.10, which is okay. It was second place was also Cuban. But then I believe China came third and fourth. But yeah, Cuba more known for the long jump, for the triple jump event. So it's good that they're branching into other events now, and hopefully soon they'll get to the track events as well. So I believe that concludes all the events for this Diamond League. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be coming out with the next Diamond League a day after it happens. So until then, goodbye.